important issue of prioritization in further future phases, and especially in terms of prioritizing elderly ahead of others, or of non-elderly. And I don't want to pick groups who are non-elderly, because these are the numbers, and I've written an op-ed which I'd also forwarded to you. Is that if you look at even any group, and you could even take a essential worker, or the most of the harm is above 50. As a matter of fact, most of the harm is above 65. So here I have both Connecticut and Florida data. The once you contract it 75 and over, the probability is about 24%. And this includes the nursing homes data, so it's even exaggerated a little bit. It's in 70 to 75, it's 11.5%. 65 to 70 is 11.5%. Drops to 4.5, 60 to 65, 1.4, 55 to 59, and at 20 to 35, if you're 30-year-old, it's a 0.05%. Just for comparison, 0.035 is the probability somebody dies in a car accident, right, in a given year. So the point here being that there are two ways to end this pandemic. One is obviously you reach what's called herd immunity, which everybody knows, 70%, 80%. The other is we reduce the death rate to close to zero. And if we vaccinate everybody above 50, we'll be getting very, very close to it. And vaccinating everybody up to 50, because there is only less than a third of our population. So really that is more like based upon the number of vaccine availability we're talking about, it is a much faster thing. So the question here is, would you consider, or are you considering prioritizing those who are seniors, 65 and over, before anyone else, after the frontline workers are done? Would you consider that? Because once you do the numbers, it is very clear you're going to save life. And on a national basis, that's 200,000 lives. You'll also save time. You're talking about the summer. By 15th of February, if you can go all the way up to 60, really, there still will be infection, and we still need to vaccinate everyone else. But the reality is that there'll be no more deaths, or that number is going to be infinitesimally closer to zero, like the summer. And the summer, we still had some issues, but the death rate was zero most states. So and that's a big question. Would you consider that? Some states have done pari passu, in a sense that they will do the essential workers and the 65 and over at the same time, which is also not that good. It would just save 100,000 lives. It will still lead to 100,000 more deaths. So would you consider prioritizing, putting ahead all our seniors?
Yeah. So it's a really important and complex question, as you know. I did read your op-ed. I thought, your arguments are very well reasoned, and I think the math and the statistics are pretty clear. As I know, you also know, it is a very, the argument in favor of also prioritizing, these frontline essential workers, as the CDC defined them, people fundamentally who have no choice but to go out to work and put themselves at risk to enable our society to function, and who have been disproportionately impacted through infection. And, oftentimes, even if you don't die, right, we all know, we've read about the long haulers and a lot of these kind of still unknown long-term health effects. And there's a lot of questions around equity. So it's, I'm not going to break any new news on this call. I think you guys are well aware of the debate that's going on. What the governor wanted to do was get a very diverse set of voices around the table to provide recommendations for the state of Connecticut, right? So they kind of start from the CDC recommendations that ACIP brought forward. I think it was 2 weekends ago. And so they've been meeting, and they will continue to meet. And I think hopefully next week they'll be making some recommendations on exactly this question.
Right.
That ultimately, the federal government's been clear that it's going to be the governor's calls at the end of the day. And I know he's agonizing over this point, and will, eagerly awaits the recommendations of the experts that we've assembled.
Yeah, because there's another advantage of just doing a descending age order, is it's very objective. Because, who's an essential worker? I can play, there's most folks can really, we're talking about 50 million people in the country, and
Yep.
a very large number of people, 500,000 people in Connecticut. So the objectivity is lost. And as a result, there's going to be more gameplay, which really is what we definitely don't want.
Yeah.
And the final thing is that, we all know, especially in behavioral, those of us who have studied behavioral sciences, that committee think is committee think. And we need to make sure that here we have an opportunity to save 100,000 plus lives. And so, the governor does have the power to make the decision. And I think the numbers are showing that you will save lives. And, so I understand that, it's a decision that has to be made, but I strongly would suggest, serious consideration of putting our seniors ahead of non-seniors, because many of the seniors are also essential workers, by the way.
Mhm.
So I'll move